it's Rob here with a look behind the scenes. It's Badass Overtime, giving you a chance to listen in to Sven's conversation with his guests after the show.
She was lost, but now she's found. She was blind, but now she sees. We have found our little Libby. She was lost. We found you, Libby. It's good to have you back. And I don't get into this in every episode, but I want to ask each of you a very simple question. There's no right or wrong answer, okay? I know you've listened to the show before and so forth, but I want to ask you a very simple question. And the simple question is this, and I'm going to ask it about your mothers, and then Libby will ask about your father next. But Libby, I'm going to ask you first. Straight question. Knowing that feelings aren't a permanent state, they're just a feeling. They come, and if we allow them and we welcome our feelings and get them out of us, that they pass. It's like feeling sad that my favorite team lost. Well, I cry it out and in my beer, and it's a sad day, and then it just sort of passes, okay? Or whatever it might be. So feelings are feelings, and they don't require action. And they're just feelings, and they come, they go. It's not a permanent state. So the question is this. Libby, do you hate your mother?
Yes.
Skeeter, do you hate your mother? There's no right or wrong answer. There's no pressure here. You don't have to say anything. Do you hate your mother?
No.
Okay. And what would you say you do feel? What's the biggest feeling you do feel? Well, let me ask you this. Do you love your mother?
Yes.
And just out of curiosity, in your entire life, have you ever hated yourself?
Absolutely.
And what was the one period of your life when you hated yourself the most?
In my early 20s.
And what percent did you hate yourself the most in your early 20s? What percent did you hate yourself? 6%, 87%, 99%, 100%, 14%? What percent did you hate yourself in your early 20s?
Go with 90%.
I see. Do you hate yourself today?
I don't.
Do not. What's the earliest in your life you recall ever hating yourself? Even a little bit?
Even as a young girl, maybe 7, 8.
Just out of curiosity then, and you say today, not at all. Just out of curiosity, have you ever hated your mother?
Yes.
I see. And when would you say you hated her most?
17, 18.
What percent?
90%.
I see. And when you said you hated yourself back when you were 7 years old, what percent did you hate yourself back then?
I would say probably about 80%.
As a 7-year-old. Gotcha.
Yes.
So just so I'm clear, you don't hate a woman that caused the 7-year-old to hate herself 80%. She conditioned you to hate yourself at 7 years old. And if you're hating yourself 80% by 7 years old, it's reasonable to assume that didn't happen overnight. So that had likely been growing. So that means at 6, at 5, potentially 4, 3, the hate for self had already started. And yet, any hate you felt for your mom today is, it's just gone. What do you think about that? Thoughts?
Confusion.
What's the confusing part?
What you're saying makes sense, that, if you're that young and you're conditioned to hate yourself, where the fuck did it come from? A little girl at 7 doesn't hate themselves for no reason.
No, she doesn't. Can you think of any reason that would justify your child hating him or herself at 7 years old, 5 years old?
No.
Which means it would have had to have come from an outside source.
Mm-hmm.
She conditioned you to hate yourself.
Mm.
Libby, what percent do you hate your mom today?
Probably 80%.
And do you hate your dad? And if so, what percent?
Probably the same, probably about 80%.
And what was the earliest you ever hated yourself, if you ever did, Libby?
I would think probably first grade.
And that's roughly 6 years old. What percent do you think you hated yourself at 6 years old?
Probably about 80%.
So here we are, 2 little girls growing up in different parts of the world. One was 6 and hated herself 80%. The other was 7 and hated hated herself 80%. Two little girls taught to hate themselves. How fucking disgusting is that? Wretched, vile. I guess I'm really curious. First of all, Libby, your clarity on that, your answers on that, it's like, I respect that. And I respect you, Skeeter, for your answers as well. I'm curious, Skeeter, what your mom has done to make those feelings of hatred towards her. She conditioned you to hate yourself at 7 years old, 6, 5, somewhere in there. What has she done to make your hatred for her go away, for what she did to a child?
Some way, I think that she's conditioned me to love her under any circumstances.
Best answer of the night right there, folks. That's exactly right. It's like the nuclear reactor. When those nuclear levels, whatever it's called, get too high, there's an automatic shutoff switch. When you start getting too angry or too much looking at mom, it hits this automatic shutoff switch, and then all your anger goes right back down. And you go back to somehow, somewhere in you, blaming yourself. Somehow the problem must be me. It couldn't be mom. Casey, you wanted to say something here.
I have to chime in here because there's a flip side to that, and I experienced it, which was I was trying so hard to hate my sister and to be angry at her that I couldn't heal, because somewhere in me, what really was there was that I loved my sister, just like you love your mom. And until I accepted the fact that I loved her, I just wasn't going to be around her, because being around her meant that she was going to spew her toxicity on me, and then she was going to be that negative voice in my head. So it wasn't until I accepted the fact that I actually loved her, but just chose not to be around her, that I could start to actually heal.
But what about the actual hatred? What if she actually does feel hatred because of the things
she
that her
might,
mother...
but also the hatred might be made up. It might be not a real feeling. It might be anger at the hurt of, I loved this person and they fucking hurt me.
Well, and that's definitely what the hatred and anger are. That you love them. So I don't hear Skeeter saying she doesn't love her mother. I mean, the mere fact that she actually
she said
literally
she does
said
love
it. Right.
Her mom. And that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that recognizing the fact that I loved my sister helped me move past my sister.
Right. But what I'm saying is you won't move past until all, including the love, until all of the feelings get out, including acknowledging, Mom, you fucking bitch. You fucking monster. And then you teach me that I have to protect you, that if I start having feelings of anger towards you, that shutoff switch just makes it go away. Oh, man. Wow, Mom. Wow. Yeah, that's what you got going on there, Skeeter. You got the fact that there's a shutoff switch, that somehow you're conditioned to just love Mom, just love her, and look out for her. And that's how desperately, to Casey's point, that's how desperately you want to be loved. Libby, I want to ask you, I want to go back over to you, and I just want to ask you, what's the great longing of your soul? Whether it's regarding parents, regarding life, what is the great longing of your soul, Libby?
I think a sense of peace, no fear. Just making decisions, and it's okay. It's not a black and white. If something happens, move on to the next plan A, plan B, plan C. Get out of that cycle of fear.
And
constant fear.
Yeah, that's right. And I think the real trick, and I think you're definitely onto it. The real trick in order to get those fears out is to go into where the hell they came from to begin with. And I really believe that for you, Libby, the challenge is going to be going into all those exercises in the book and really beginning to face what was done to you in childhood, how it felt, and to see, as Casey put so clearly, as Rob put so clearly, this notion that what was done to you was not okay. That your fear, you weren't born afraid like that. No child is. You weren't born afraid of the world. You weren't born believing that everything you should be terrified of. That's not who you really are. You got conditioned to be that way based on all the toxic trauma, fucking craziness of the monsters around you. The coward, your mother, the coward, and your dad, the animal. He was an animal. He was a sick pig. He was just a fucking piece of shit. You don't need me to tell you that. You already said it yourself. But the bottom line is, until you go into that and really face that stuff, you're still going to have that fear, but you can't just sort of power through. You've been trying to power through that stuff your whole life. Bottom line is you got to go down to the root. You got to go down to the source. And the more you go into those exercises in the book, I guarantee it, you go push yourself to go deeper. And okay, what's the other fear? What else is down here? And if you aren't crying, and if you aren't raging, and if you aren't letting in all that fear and that pain and the anger and all that goes with it, you're kind of shying away from the most important stuff. So I want to ask you then, for each other, Libby, what do you most want to say, either ask or say to Skeeter? What thoughts do you have for Skeeter?
I want to reach out and give Skeeter a big hug and tell her that I can tell just by listening to her that she's really done some great, awesome stuff. She just needs to pat herself on the back for, what she's accomplished. Just really think about, hey, I made it through this. I made it through, this, that, the other, and here I am. She's really done a wonderful job.
Yep.
Honestly.
Yep.
She needs to give herself credit.
Amen to that. And Skeeter, final words for Libby or questions for Libby.
Thanks for that, Libby. My final, thought would be just, I just envision putting wings on her so she can fly and just be free from, and fearless. But like Casey said, you have so much life left to live. I think we forget sometimes that, we're very fortunate to keep getting up every day and every day's a new day. I see you standing tall and working your way through the past traumas and your experiences, and don't be too hard on yourself. Just keep looking forward and find good people to be around. Not the energy vampires. Find good people to be around. They'll keep you strong and moving in the forward motion.
I like it. And then to Rob and KC, you guys, any final thoughts, any final words? KC.
I mean, I think they both just wrapped it up perfectly. They're both good women and they deserve to live good, peaceful lives.
For sure.
Yeah. And so then you get those nice soft words from Rob and Casey, and you get a final kick in the ass from me. And that is, ladies, and it's badass counseling. So if you aren't getting a swift kick in the ass, you know it ain't me. And it's simply this. Do it, ladies. You're so close. Each of you is so fucking close. Yep. And Casey was saying that a minute ago. Right, Casey?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're so close. Both of you. And it's just like, fuck it, I got to do this. It's time. It is time that I'm sick of living in fear, in your case, Libby. And with Skeeter, it's just I'm sick of being stuck in this loneliness and shit. That I'm sick of it. And then finally, where the pain gets bad enough, where you reach that fucking point. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going in. I'm going into the vault. I'm going to go and attack and go into all those things that happen, all the feelings and all that stuff. And I'm going to finally start really going deep, the stuff I've been avoiding, because that's where the healing is, and that's where it starts to turn. That's where you start to get lighter and feel true motivation, feel that, like you talked about, Libby, and you said so well, that peace. But you got to go into that vault and start flushing that shit out, ladies. Thank you so much, ladies, for being on the show. You were awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You bet.
That's it. Join us for new counseling episodes every Thursday and lightning rounds every Sunday.
Thanks for listening to Badass Overtime. Now go out and slay some demons and have a kick-ass day.